Hi and welcome to this new episode of the Vulnerable Me. This is running alongside another series called Nobody Talks About Death. Uh, so you are one more guest in this series, which I am beginning to love more and more because kinds of vulnerability that comes up is quite unique. But before I get into more about the topic, I'm glad to reconnect with you after a long time and to see that we still vibe well and can talk quite easily with each other. So, would want to introduce yourself to our guest, please?
Thank you. Thanks so much. I do remember our meeting while doing Seva in Mumbai. So it's really my pleasure to connect again after so many years. Yeah, to introduce myself, I'm Supriya. I was born and brought up in Maharashtra. I come from a small town, Akola, in Maharashtra, which is in the Vidarbha region. I went to study, in Bits Pilani's Goa campus. After that, I moved to Delhi, did some work, in the not-for-profit space with social enterprise space. Uh, did a lot of experiments and ended up being in corporate. So right now I work with Procter and Gamble. Uh,
Okay.
Beyond that, I'm married. Me and my husband, we got married just before the pandemic hit,
Mm.
and currently I'm living with my family, my parents here in Maharashtra. And yeah, and I'm a certified yoga coach. So one of my interest areas is to talk about yoga because it has definitely transformed me in many ways. So would love to sort of talk about it in our conversation as well. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have people who have so many interests, and I would want uh, to start with a very simple question. You come across as somebody very confident who knows her mind and who seems to have a decent track record of acting upon it. Was there a time when you were very unsure about how you wanted to tackle life, or you had your black days, as one would call it? Was there a time when you were unsure about yourself, or were you ready-made like this? Never any problem, confident, and let's get there, do that.
I think it'll be not be right if I say that I've been confident and I'm even confident today about things. Right? I think the self doubts come in many forms, and they come like not just in certain periods and phases of our life. They come in every day, every single day. So this morning, there were some things which I was doubting myself about. So I think it's just being human to sometimes doubt our own potential, our own capabilities. I've had many failures in life. I have had many dark days. Uh, when I failed, I did not know how to handle it. When in my 20s, I had to seek help to be able to handle failure. I remember this, that I was actually, one of the first things I did after college, right after graduation, was like all people from small towns want to do and aspire to do, who want to bring about a change. I went and wrote the civil services examination. I missed it by 2 marks. And when I missed
Oh,
it when I missed that, and I thought I did really well, and I was very confident about that too. But when I realized that I missed it by 2 marks, I think I was shattered for a very long time, because I think everyone around me thought that, hey, she'll crack it. And I never thought so, and that was definitely like a lack of self belief that I also attributed to. But when I did not crack it, I think I did not know how to handle it, because as someone who always wanted to sort of just succeed at things early in life, that first taste of failure, when I had it, I just absolutely had no idea what to do. And one of my friends said that, let's go for a trip. So we ended up going for this trip in the hills right after my results came, and it kind of helped me gather myself. And I thought that, okay, I wanted to take this route to reach this purpose. If not this route, I can take some other route.
uh-huh.
And I thought that, okay, the path is changing, but it does not mean my north star has to change. So I still am today doing a lot of work with government in public policy, which bureaucrats generally end up doing, and I do it outside the government to influence positive change. Yes, so I felt that, and I think even today there are so many times where I doubt myself, and it's only natural to doubt ourselves, I feel.
And there is a lovely because you said you went to the hills. It reminded me of a metaphor that I had read. There would be no mountain if there were no valley, kind of thought. And but one of the lines that struck me while you were speaking was, uh, as as we move towards things that are predisposed to our liking, or disposed against what we dislike. So we move away from things that we don't like and we move towards things that we like. Uh, Sometimes it doesn't work out the way that it didn't in your case. So you were clear that you wanted to serve the world as a certain kind of person with a certain kind of education or a background that didn't fall into place. My question to you is, I do not want to get into a meditative answer right now, but at that point, a person who's really wanted to do good to the world, it's not even that you're running around to say, oh, I'm greedy, I want to do this, I want to do that. And yet going through this, what I presume must have been quite shattering. You're smiling while you talk about this, but I don't think it would have been easy, because I've known other people, at least from smaller towns, it's a very big deal. In big towns, I don't think we understand, because it's a flux always. Nobody gives uh, a damn about anything that happens to us. You're so busy surviving. So
Yeah.
every setback is taken as, okay, let me try this way or that way, or what Indians call jugaad. But in the case that you were, I don't think there's any jugaad. You either get it or you don't.
Yes.
So what would you have gone through? I would want you to tell us about the mental state of a person who just broke down, and before you went to the hills, how did you feel? Did you feel cheated? Did you feel you are not worth it? What was the problem? In your head, what was the problem?
Um, well, to be very honest, I knew and I accepted the reality of how this exam works, right? Because I'd spoken to so many people, and I knew that people generally write 2, 3, 4, and nowadays 6 attempts to clear this exam, because it's unpredictable, right? So one was I accepted the unpredictable nature of this exam, and that was my first attempt and my only attempt. Um, Everyone expected me to write a second attempt, but no one knew that I did not have the financial freedom to do that. Like
Oh,
um, yeah, so I wanted to write it. Actually, I was banking on one scholarship which was given to me by the government, but it just something happened and the money never reached my account, and I was banking on it, and it did not happen, and I did not have the money to stay in Delhi, which is where people used to prepare. There's this old Rajendra Nagar, very famous spot for people who are preparing for civil services, and I realized I did not have money in my bank account to stay for one more year in Delhi and do it. So I had to take a call and come back to my parents' house. And I also knew that they will not be able to support me given their financial background, right? So I, in my heart, everyone else thought that, okay, this is one attempt, you will give second attempt and third attempt, and you will make it. And I knew that I will not be able to afford that, because if I were to do it, I have to take up a job, and I have to do that along with a job, right? So and which is going to be difficult, I knew, right? Because I mean, the job in itself is a big deal and a big
yeah,
commitment, and to
yeah.
study along with it. So I knew that there is no second attempt most likely, and I have to go and look for a job right away. And I was a fresher. Like I said, I just did this right out of college. I had no experience, and I had opted out of placements also. So I was not sure who's going to hire me. I had no idea what skill sets I bring on table also. I had no idea how much the market will pay me to also know what, I mean,
Yeah.
the first time someone interviewed me, I just said the bare minimum I need to survive. I gave that figure that this is what money I need. Like, I was that naive to not know my own sort of worth or value when it comes to placements, etc. So what I went through was a mixed bag of emotions, where you realize that the reality hits you, right? Like, it's not all hunky dory. You have to face these kind of challenges. But what hurt the most was the people who also believed in you, like were doubting you now, because their belief in you changed because of this one exam result somehow, right? Like the friends around you, or the people that around you, barring some people who were obviously with me no matter what, unconditionally, like my mother was unconditionally supportive of no matter what I do. But I think it did hurt me to sort of see that, okay, like in a time like right now where I actually need support and help, is when it's the most difficult to find support and that belief from people, right? So yeah, and then to make things worse, I decided to do something very unconditional and unconventional, sorry, which was like a startup of sorts, a social enterprise in a space which no one heard of, like public policy. So no one knew about the space, especially back home, and it was very difficult for me to tell them what I'm doing and what I'm planning to do next. And no one really, I mean, even I did not, to be very honest, even I did not know what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
So like communicating that became a challenge, and like everyone was like, okay, she seems very lost in life. Uh, and and that even they were like, okay, we don't know what you're doing, and they thought I was doing a very not-for-profit kind of work, and they made me realize that this work you do later in life, when you are financially secure. So do keep this work for your 40s, 50s. I was also like I was selected as a Teach for India fellows. I was considering teaching, and they were like, no, you did not go to Bits Pilani to teach like second grade students. That does not add up. And yeah, like I was confused. I did not know what to make of these things, but the only thing that guided me was that a little bit of faith I had in myself, that yeah, I mean, I knew that I will pass through this difficult time. It's just a matter of finding the path, right? Like right now I'm at a crossroads where I did not anticipate that suddenly things will be so blurred and the vision will be so blurred. But to bring that clarity, I also had to seek help. I had to go and speak to people, and I very shamelessly went and sort of spoke to everyone possible. I sort of cold calls, cold emails, met people, to decide what I want to do next. So which really worked in my case, and I still believe it works. That reaching out to people with genuine intentions, no matter who that person is, they give you their time, assistance, guidance. If they see that you are seeking something meaningful, and you want to do something, and I try to do that now. I mentor students, in Indian School of Public Policy is one of the schools where I mentor, because that's the age, in early 20s, especially now with so many options coming up in front of us. The options have actually become manifold, and it's even more difficult for people to know what they're made for, what their purpose is. No one knows it. Like even today, I would not know what my true purpose would be, right? I'm still going through a purpose discovery, kind of an exercise in my own life. But that one moment which you talked about, right? Like just before, like when you find out, was a very heavy moment in life. And that's actually made me realize the appreciate the luxury of having those light moments. So that also has helped me in my own growth, I feel.
Okay, I noticed there were two things that came to my mind in terms of questions from that lovely answer. You covered so many values, and I hope if there are young people watching this and feeling listless, restless, uh, are being unkind to themselves because they have not done well in the recent times or in the recent past, or are feeling unsure, that staying there and trying to improve your perspective, looking out for help in a time where mental health is becoming one of the biggest issues that is going to face humankind, something that is not spoken of enough, no matter how much we speak of it. I think
Yeah.
wonderful sharing by you. But there are two things I want to bring in here, because you talked of an age when you were just out of college and fairly young. So my the aspects are two, but the question is one. The aspect is one, 20 is a very nascent age because you're not fully out of your childhood, teenage bravado of the youth, if I were to call it. You're still feeling, yes, I understand the world and I'm going to negotiate at my terms and I'm going to do this. On the other hand, the adult world does not accept you yet because it says you're a fresher, you're an intern, you need to learn the ropes, and what are you talking of? You may have ideas, it's nonsense, the world is not like this, let me tell you how it is, and those kind of things. I'm not saying negative, I'm just saying experience versus absolute non-experience. You are neither. You have the
Yeah,
potential, you're almost done with your studies, which is a good backup for us to tell us that, oh, because I got 60%, 80%, 100%, whatever, and this is my worth in life, which is what you were
yeah.
also juggling with at that point of time. Okay, so my worth has been re-questioned by circumstances or life, if I would. I'm saying in this nascent stage, you said you did answer a part of that question by saying that there was something within you that told you that I need to relook at things and figure out how I want to negotiate it. I want to ask you, were you clear that this state, because see, people had ditched you. Um, there could be a subtler question, why did they ditch you? But people are always on the side of success more often, and not everyone has the bandwidth to understand that life takes its own ways of making us reach where we are trying to go or not succeeding, whatever the case may be. So I want to understand, in that nascent stage that you were, where you had not even taken a step, why did you trust yourself? Although you said you trusted yourself and you said, no, I'll find a path. Why did you trust yourself? If there could be an answer, I'm sure it's not an easy question to answer, but if you could just get into that mindset, because we don't really change. Even if you've grown and you're in a new role these days, uh, doing successfully, there are days you said there was some problem in the morning where you were feeling unsure. So within that lack of confidence or lack of clarity itself, what is it that clicks for you? What clicked then for you, rather?
I think the reason you start trusting, I mean, you asked like, why did you trust yourself, right? Because I feel that I had no other choice.
Uh,
There was no other choice, right? Like, who do you
yeah,
trust? What do you do, right? I, in my early teens and early 20s, I was like an atheist, where I went and proclaimed that I've read Bhagat Singh's letters where he talks about why I'm an atheist, and I has to give those exact arguments. That's why I'm an atheist, right? So there was no God for me who I could trust at that point in time in my life. So there was no choice. I mean, I felt that the only thing in my life that has motivated me, I mean, those motivations and those spurs of motivations have come from inside, and they've always today it's meditation. Back then it was connecting with nature, like something around that, like going to the hills was because when you connect to nature, you connect with yourself, and like that's when
yeah,
you listen to yourself. So I think that was it. I mean, a lot of times it feels like a very gutsy choice, a very brave choice, but sometimes there is no choice, and that's the only choice.